The Maranello team has finally revealed what all experts already suspected, but which remained a well-guarded secret behind the scenes. This admission could completely revolutionize our perception of how the 2025 season of the premier category of world motorsport unfolds. Fred Vasseur decided to be transparent about the true reasons that explain the adversities faced by the traditional Italian team throughout this year. However, one questions whether this late revelation still has the power to rescue championship aspirations. And the crucial point remains: what will be the real impact on Lewis Hamilton's possibilities of achieving his historic 8th world title? It is fundamental to understand the scenario that any Formula One enthusiast must assimilate to evaluate the magnitude of this problematic situation. Ferrari began 2025 carrying enormous expectations. It's worth remembering that they finished just 14 points behind McLaren in the battle for the 2024 Constructors' Championship. Just 14 points separated glory from failure. Such a reduced margin that any superior strategic decision, any more efficient pit stop, any additional pole position conquest would have completely rewritten the outcome. Faced with this, how did Ferrari react? They opted to completely reformulate the concept of the car for this final season under the current regulations. Was it an audacious choice or an act of desperation? The results we are witnessing eloquently answer for themselves. The first indication that something was fundamentally problematic emerged right at the beginning of the season during the Australian Grand Prix. Maranello's technical team found that the car's floor was operating at an alarming proximity to the asphalt. This wasn't a secondary technical adjustment that could be immediately corrected, but rather a structural issue that compromised the entire aerodynamic concept of the car. It's like erecting a building and discovering that the foundations have cracks from the beginning. Essentially, that's exactly what happened with Ferrari. However, the most adverse scenario was still to materialize in a way that no expert could anticipate. At the Chinese Grand Prix, the nightmare took on spectacular and humiliating contours. Lewis Hamilton, the 7-time world champion who transferred to Maranello precisely to conquer his 8th title and definitively consolidate his status as the greatest driver in history, triumphed in the sprint race starting from pole position. It was precisely the type of performance that fed the Tifosi's dreams of returning to the glorious times of the Italian team. 24 hours later, reality imposed itself brutally. Hamilton was excluded due to excessive wear of the protection plank. Charles Leclerc also lost his classification for having the car below the minimum weight established by regulations. 2 exclusions in the same weekend. When was the last occasion in which we witnessed something so devastating in Formula One? We now come to the most revealing and intriguing aspect of this entire narrative. Vasseur confessed that these disqualifications in China completely destabilized Ferrari, generating a cascade effect that persists to this day. The team found itself forced to raise the height of the car, establishing a protection margin that sacrifices pure performance in favor of regulatory compliance. And herein lies the most painful fact. Each millimeter of elevation from the ground represents positions lost on the starting grid. It's a merciless and inexorable mathematics. Greater safety means less speed. Less speed results in fewer points, and fewer points equals a lost championship. The situation becomes even more dramatic when we examine the practical repercussions. Hamilton and Leclerc received specific guidance to decrease throttle intensity on the longest straights, a technique called lift and coast, precisely to preserve the car's plank against excessive wear. Imagine 2 of the most exceptional talents on the current grid being forced to contain their momentum when they should be attacking with maximum intensity. It's comparable to having Messi playing with chained feet, or Federer playing tennis with a damaged racket. The Italian team tried to solve the problem through a significant update to the rear suspension, implemented at the Belgian Grand Prix the previous month. It should have represented the definitive solution that would finally allow the drivers to explore the full real potential of the car. The engineers showed confidence that they had discovered the formula to release the performance that was being wasted race after race. However, in Hungary, something unusual and disturbing manifested. Leclerc obtained Ferrari's first pole position of the season, demonstrating that the car possessed speed when all variables worked harmoniously. Nevertheless, during the race, he lost pace in an enigmatic and inexplicable way, possibly due to increased tire pressure to protect the floor. The problem not only persists, but appears to be evolving and becoming progressively more complex to solve. Vasseur demonstrated relentless honesty about the adversities faced by the team, something uncommon in the diplomatically cautious environment of Formula One. He recognized that Ferrari totally lost direction after the disqualifications in China, facing quality and execution issues that harmed multiple consecutive weekends. He declared that McLaren is visibly superior in tire management, especially in challenging conditions such as rain or high temperature. And here is the information that really hurts the heart of any tifosi. Ferrari occupies the second position in the Constructors' Championship, however with a colossal difference of 299 points to McLaren. It's such a monumental gap that it seems practically impossible to overcome with only 10 races remaining on the calendar. Vasseur's admission unveils something deeper and disturbing about the essence of contemporary Formula One. These cars demonstrate extreme sensitivity to ground height, reaching almost obsessive levels of precision. Each millimetric modification can literally represent the difference between conquering pole position or starting in sixth place. As he himself expressed in a crystalline manner, if Leclerc had been just 0.2 slower in qualifying in Budapest, he would have started in sixth place instead of first. 0.2 of a second. In current Formula One, that's the microscopic difference between absolute euphoria and complete frustration. What causes most admiration in this story is how an apparently technical and specific issue can trigger a devastating sequence of events that compromises an entire season of a traditional team like Ferrari. The Italian team couldn't adequately concentrate on tire preparation for qualifying, on fundamental warm-up procedures, on race strategy, because it was constantly worried and fearful of facing new disqualification. It's precisely the type of mental and operational disturbance capable of completely destroying the performance of any team, even counting on drivers of the caliber of Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc in the cockpits. Vasseur recognized that they managed to reduce the gap to the leaders to just 0.2 in the last 3 or 4 races, demonstrating that real and measurable progress is being developed behind the scenes at Maranello. But the fundamental question remains: will it be sufficient to alter the course of this season? With only 10 races remaining and a difference of approximately 300 points, Ferrari needs something close to a sporting miracle to reconquer the Constructors' Championship. And Hamilton, who came to Ferrari dreaming of finalizing his career with the 8th world title and definitively surpassing Michael Schumacher, observes his historical opportunities gradually fading with each weekend that passes without consistent victories. The central question now is to determine whether Ferrari will be able to definitively solve this persistent problem of car height before the end of the season, or if they will need to live with this frustrating technical limitation until the implementation of new regulations. Because one truth is absolutely unquestionable in Formula One: you cannot concede advantages to direct competitors. Each millimeter, each tenth, each technical detail can determine entire championships. Ferrari assimilated this lesson in the most painful and costly way possible. What is your assessment of this entire situation? Does Ferrari still maintain genuine mathematical possibilities of recovery this season? Or does Vasseur's public confession practically represent the death certificate for the ambitions of the Italian team in 2025? Share your perspective in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel to follow all in-depth analyses about the most reserved backstage of Formula One. Because when the subject is the premier category of world motorsport, each technical detail has the power to completely transform everything.